Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for their Excellencies, the Right Honourable Dame Patsy Reddy, Governor-General of New Zealand, and Sir David Gascoigne.
Tae tēnei momo, tae tēnā momo whakatairangatia. Whakamānawatia te toki atu, whakamānawatia te rauorongo. Oi whiwhia te tohu, oi rawea te tohu, oi tamaua te tohu, taumata rautia te tohu, haumi e, hui e, tāi ki.
E ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā iwi o ngā hoewha. Tēnei aku mihi mahana hi a koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Nau mai, haere mai rā, ki te whare kawana. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings to you all and welcome to Government House. I specifically acknowledge Commodore Tony Miller, Maritime Component Commander of Royal New Zealand Navy, our kuia Dr. Hiria Hape, and our kaumatua Professor Pirishasha. Tēnā koutou. It's a real pleasure to host this investiture ceremony and bring together 11 honour recipients along with their family and friends to recognise the contributions they've made to our country. As Governor-General, I have the authority and the privilege on behalf of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of New Zealand, to hold an investiture for her and to confer the honours to which each recipient is entitled. Ladies and gentlemen, as each one is honoured, I invite you to join me in congratulating and thanking them for their service to our country. And now Mr. Ward Kamal will summon the recipients and read a citation for each one.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Diane Sharp of Auckland, for services to ophthalmology. Diane Sharp is an ophthalmologist and founder of Macular Degeneration New Zealand. As chairperson, she developed the organisation from a small group of volunteers into an effective non-governmental agency delivering services to more than 7,000 people throughout New Zealand. She established and has directed the Ophthalmic Electrodiagnostic Unit in Green Lane Eye Clinic. She helped establish the patient support group now known as Retina New Zealand and helped implement a multidisciplinary patient rehabilitation service within the Auckland District Health Board. She has been a member of the Scientific and Medical Advisory Board for Retina International, the Oceania Retina Association, and an Australasian Medical Advisory Board. Dr. Sharp has been principal investigator for international trials on the treatment and management of vision-threatening complications of diabetes and age-related macular degeneration. Associate Professor Selina Tusitala-Marsh of Waiheke Island for services to poetry, literature and the Pacific community. Selina Tusitala-Marsh is the current New Zealand Poet Laureate and Associate Professor at the University of Auckland. Her publications include Fast Talking PI, Dark Sparring and Tightrope. She coordinates Pacifica Poetry, a companion website of the New Zealand Electronic Poetry Centre. She has been involved with more than 140 poetic performances and has led more than 110 workshops for community and professional organisations. She is a New Zealand Book Council board member and brings poetry to low decile schools via the Book Council's Writers in Schools project. She is conference convener of the Association for Commonwealth Literature and Language Studies. Dr. Tusitala-Marsh represented Tuvalu at the 2012 London Olympics Poetry Parnassus event, won the 2015 London Literary Deathmatch Poetry Slam event, and was the 2016 Commonwealth Poet. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Ms. Carol Bew of Auckland for services to the literary industry. Carol Bew opened the Women's Bookshop in Auckland in 1989. She regularly holds author events and book launches to promote New Zealand writers. She promotes authors, publishers and women's affairs through her annual event, the Ladies Litera Tea. She supports authors from the LGBTQI+ community and was involved in running the Listener Women's Book Festival throughout the 1990s. She was one of the founders of the Auckland Writers' Festival, was a board member of the Festival Trust, and co-manages the Festival Bookstall. Mrs. Bew was a member of the Board of Booksellers New Zealand, and she regularly conducts book reviews for Radio New Zealand. Associate Professor Andrew Connelly of Auckland for services to health. Andrew Connelly was Middlemore Hospital's first specialist colorectal surgeon. As head of Department of General and Vascular Surgery, he has grown the department from 8 surgeons to 19 and has mentored many surgeons into leadership positions. He has been chairman of the Medical Council of New Zealand and a member of the Ministerial Task Group on Clinical Leadership. He chaired the ministerial review of the impact of the elective waiting times policy. He is an honorary associate professor at the University of Auckland and has published more than 35 scientific papers. Outside of medicine, Associate Professor Connelly is a New Zealand military historian focusing on First World War medical history. Dr. Carlo Miele of Auckland for services to the Pacific community and as a poet. Carlo Miele was manager Pacific Health Research at the Health Research Council and has worked as a policy and research consultant for major government and international projects and initiatives. She was a member of the Pacific Development and Conservation Trust. She has been a member of numerous advisory groups and involved with community organisations. As a poet, she has published the collections Dream Fish Floating and A Well-Written Body, and has contributed to a number of anthologies. Dr. Miele is currently Program Director of the Manamoana Experience, a leadership program for mid-career Pacific leaders at Leadership New Zealand based on her postdoctoral research. Mr. Vic Tamati of Auckland for services to the prevention of family violence. Vic Tamati is a family violence-free campaigner with the award-winning It's Not Okay campaign. He founded Safe Man, Safe Family Incorporated, which operates under the statement, if there be no perpetrators, there will be no victims. His dedication to perpetrators of family violence challenges men throughout New Zealand, Australia and the Pacific to uncover, discover and recover from all forms of lifestyle violence. He has shared his life story with the aim of disrupting the status quo on what it means to be a violence-free, safe man. Mr. Tamati has worked to break through social barriers and patriarchal values to illustrate that men like him can seek help and change. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal. Reverend George Bryant of Tauranga for services to publishing and the community. George Bryant is founder and co-director of the not-for-profit publishing company Daystar Books Limited. He previously chaired Daystar Christian magazine. He has authored 22 books, delivered writing seminars and mentored budding writers. He was minister at Welcome Bay Community Church. He has been chairman of Whangarei Birthright and vice president of Birthright New Zealand. He has been involved with Northern Mental Health Trust and the Education Board of World Vision New Zealand. Reverend Bryant has been a Whangarei City Councillor, president of Rotary Clubs in both Whangarei and Tauranga, and chairman of Bay of Plenty Symphonia. Mr. Kevin O'Sullivan of Auckland for services to the Coast Guard. Kevin O'Sullivan has been a Coast Guard volunteer for more than 40 years, serving as president and as current patron of Auckland Coast Guard Incorporated. He chaired the Education Committee of the Auckland Coast Guard in the 1970s and 1980s. He initiated and hosts Coast Guard members' educational cruises around Hauraki Gulf. He was instrumental in the installation of nowcasting automated weather stations to transmit weather and wave information to the Coast Guard Rescue Centre. He is a founding trustee and chairman of the Auckland Marine Rescue Centre Trust. He has been a volunteer officer and boating education tutor with the Spirit of Adventure Trust. Mrs. Pat Rosa of Tauranga for services to the Coast Guard and children. Pat Rosa is a volunteer radio operator at Tauranga Volunteer Coast Guard, TVCG. As radio operations training officer, she has trained more than 50 operators to New Zealand VHF radio operator standard. Until 2017, TVCG provided an evening radio service from home bases. She spent many evenings providing this service. She has put on dinners for TVCG volunteers at numerous functions, catering for up to 100 people, and has been involved with fundraising for TVCG. Mrs. Rosa is a wish-granting volunteer for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which involves interviewing the wish child and acting as a liaison between the family and Make-A-Wish. Ms. Tracy Swanberg of Auckland for services to victims of domestic violence. Tracy Swanberg is a social worker with 18 years' experience of management in the non-governmental organisation sector. She was a community support worker at DePaul House before spending 10 years with Women's Refuge. She is Centre Manager of the North Shore Women's Centre. She has been part of a government task force for family violence and has been a media spokesperson for domestic violence issues. She has been a guest speaker at numerous events, including the National Council of Women of New Zealand's National Conference. Ms. Swanberg has been an elected member of a community organisation grant scheme committee. Your Excellency, to receive the Distinguished Service Decoration, Lieutenant Commander Jan Peterson for services to the New Zealand Defence Force. Acting Lieutenant Commander Jan Peterson was the Force Engineer Officer for the Multinational Force and Observers, MFO, mission in Sinai for 12 months across 2017-2018. He became involved during the Force's greatest restructure and modernisation program in its 36-year history, including relocation from one end of the peninsula to the other. This required the relocation of more than 500 staff and significant infrastructure and capability development at the new South Cape base. The volume of engineer projects has increased from 7 to 10 projects per annum to more than 77 projects by the time he arrived. He was a central figure in the planning, coordination and delivery of many of the major infrastructure projects, which included the South Camp headquarters building, cold storage facility and warehouse, security perimeter fence and a new vehicle maintenance facility. He led the design, planning and resource coordination for the construction of 4 remote sites for Observer Force personnel, which included accommodation, communal facilities and protection. The site on Tirina Island was particularly challenging, requiring delivery of construction materials via more than 350 underslung loads from Black Hawk helicopters. His relationship building, particularly with Egyptian contractors, enabled him to deliver projects to schedule despite ambitious timelines. Lieutenant Commander Peterson made a significant contribution to the MFO's ability to carry out its mission now and into the future. Your Excellency, the investiture is concluded.
An investiture ceremony is the most important event that I hold on behalf of Her Majesty, the Queen of New Zealand. It allows me, as Governor-General, to recognise and thank an extraordinary group of people on behalf of all New Zealanders. By using their talents to make ours a better society, whether by service to their communities or by their leadership in diverse fields of endeavour, or their commitment to excellence in their own field of expertise, our recipients have set a fine example to others. This afternoon we've recognised the contributions of a member of the Defence Force and 2 members of the Royal New Zealand Coast Guard. They've displayed courage and commitment and have served their country in situations that can often be challenging and even dangerous. That service is valued by all New Zealanders. To the recipients, it's been a privilege to hear your stories today. You've demonstrated determination, dedication, and compassion in your daily lives. In your own way, each of you has helped make New Zealand a better place to live. In some cases, your work, the influence and positive impact of your work has extended beyond our shores. Your actions and the stories we've heard reflect the spirit of the words of Nelson Mandela when he said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It's what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." Your contributions have enriched the cultural, social and economic fabric of Aotearoa New Zealand. Please wear your insignia with pride, knowing that your communities value and appreciate your work and are inspired by your example. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I thank you for your service and I congratulate you for your service to our country. Kia ora puihui tātou katoa. Ladies and gentlemen, that almost brings to a close the formal part of our ceremony today. But before we break for refreshments, I wonder if I might ask you to stand and we'll sing our national anthem in Māori and in English. The words are on the back of your coat.